What's up guys, welcome to this week's video. It is actually week 5 this time. Hooray, I can count, I can tell the time. And can work calendars. This is a good intro. So, at the end of the last video I mentioned that I had an assignment that was due in last Friday, so it was due in when the video came out. I actually managed to get that completed on the Thursday and just spent all of Friday relaxing, as is my wont. I have been told that it'll be about 4 weeks or so before I get my grades back, but I happen to know that it has already been graded. So, fingers crossed. Anyway, on to the next thing that that we've been doing today. So everything is now gearing towards us doing our very first micro teach. For someone like myself who hasn't actually been on placement yet, this is going to be the first opportunity that I'll get to effectively teach a lesson. It's something that we are doing in pairs, and as I happened to mention last week, the person that I am paired with went to the same uni as me and did pretty much the same course. So what we've decided to do is a lesson on media representation and gender stereotypes in the media. We've got about half an hour, but within that time we also have to account for the use of technology, because it's all going to be being done online. And we also need to make sure that we've got enough time to transition between the two of us, as it will be a joint project. So we've got approximately 2 weeks to get that sorted out. 2 weeks from the point that I'm recording this. This is being recorded, of course, on the Tuesday. By the time you guys see it, it'll be the Friday. I'll have even less time then. Scary stuff. But as with most things in the course so far, it's just been a case of arranging to meet up, or rather to meet up on Teams in a virtual space to talk through everything that we're doing. Hello Betty, do you want to say hello? No? No, you just want to hide under the table? Okay. So yeah, so we've covered off a few topics today. We looked a bit more in depth at Bloom's taxonomy and the importance of using that. We looked at setting aims and objectives and the difference between the two. Effectively, the aim is the overall thing. The objectives are the steps that you take to get to that aim, in very, very simplistic terms. And we started to make the first proper steps towards planning not only our lessons but the documentation that we need for observations. So making steady progress. It's coming in thick and fast. I think I've covered most of what we've done today. Tomorrow we'll actually be filming this in a different location. I've cleared some office space upstairs, so instead of my delightful DVD and zombie sign backdrop here, we'll have something a little bit different for you, and that's where we'll continue to do these from there on in. So goodbye to zombie signs, goodbye DVDs. But then again though, I may end up back down here at some point, but so when we go over to the next clip, which is going to come in anytime soon, I'll see you in the room upstairs. Okay, so here we are in what's going to be the space that I will be using to do these videos from now on, as well as the space where I'll be doing most of my learning. Got a nice little desk set up here that's just off camera because it's not really the most important part. Anyway, all that aside, all like nice lighting and bits on the wall, all that kind of thing. This is day 2 of week 5. So we have gone through domains of learning today. So I'm going to refer back to my notes because that's just what I do. Because what I've started doing is leaving a few hours in between doing these and when I've actually learnt it, so it gives me a bit more time to digest it before we talk about it. But it does mean that I have to refer back to my notes. So, for domains of learning, we're looking at cognitive, so head, that's your Bloom's taxonomy. Affective, heart, so that is your Krathwohl's taxonomy. I think I'm saying that right. And psychomotor, so that's hands, stuff you do with your hands. And that is Dave's taxonomy. So cognitive, that's your thinking. It's split into, all of these are split into a hierarchical system. For anyone familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, which might not be a lot of people, I think what I'll try and do is be super technical and put a little image just about here, and we'll maybe hold it on the screen for a few seconds. Yeah, let's just say that that's there. Then you have the affective dominion. So that's looking at things like your emotions, values, attitudes. Again, also hierarchical. I'm going to get extra technical here and put it here again, I guess. Hopefully non-copyrighted images. And you have the psychomotor dominion, which isn't a killer car. It's not Carrie. You sneezing? My cat's got the sniffles. So that's looking at imitation, manipulation, precision, articulation, naturalization. So effectively it's learn by doing as opposed to learn by talking or thinking about. So off the back of that, we also spoke a little bit with our partners for our microteachers. As I may have previously mentioned, our microteacher is going to be on media representation and gender stereotypes. We were able to come up with a starter activity, which I'll go through more of this closer to the time of us actually delivering it, possibly even after we've delivered it. So as not to kind of give the game away too much, because it all is very much still work in progress. But we were able to work out a basic framework of what it is that we're going to do. We now just have to think of the content that's going to go into it. On to the next page. As an aside, we also went back to learning about how to use box of broadcast, which you recall from last week's session, we were supposed to have already learned how to do that, but it just wasn't playing ball. We now have, and I've been tasked with putting together a little cheat sheet on how to use it for next week. 'Cause it looks relatively simple, but these things always help. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. So we then looked into Bloom's taxonomy in a little more detail, hence why I didn't go through too much detail with it earlier. Splitting it into the sections of lower challenge, medium challenge and high challenge. So your lower challenge would be having the knowledge of something, being able to comprehend it. So those are the two lower levels. So knowing something, being able to understand it but not necessarily developing any further than that. Medium challenge, analysis and application, so being able to analyse something but also being able to apply that learning. And then high challenge, evaluation and creation, so being able to fully understand something and justify it, but also being able to create something of your own with that information. We looked at differentiating by tasks. We were also given the challenge to write a question for each of the 6 areas identified in Bloom's taxonomy, based on whatever it is that we're going to be teaching. So for me, media, so knowledge, can you list 3 filming techniques? Comprehension, what's the main theme of this film? Application, what approach would you use to film this scene? Analysis, what message is the director trying to portray? Synthesis, how would you reshoot this scene? And evaluation, what is your opinion of Michael Bay? Don't know whether I'll necessarily use that one, it might cause the lessons to go a little bit off the rails. We finished off with a brief introduction into pedagogy. one of the things that we did, we watched a video that that explained the root of the word pedagogy. It's from the ancient Greek, which just means to teach children. Of course, with me working in further education, or hopefully working in further education, I believe the term is andragogy when you're teaching adults. Yeah, I think that's right. But we looked at four core pedagogies as we know them. You have behaviourism, which is one of the very earliest pedagogies, developed around the late 1800s. So the idea of learning achieved through control, repetition, reinforcement, and operant conditioning. Then liberationism, which came about in about the 60s, I think. So the idea of emancipation through education. Basically, it's more about how a student learns. It's almost fully student-led, so you don't have that kind of authoritarian teacher role. It's more of a teacher being kind of not necessarily a passive guide, but the learning comes much more from the students than from anything else. Then you have social constructivism, which I can't remember where that theory particularly started, but that's looking at the way that social interactions and group and peer-to-peer learning work. So it's very similar to some of the aspects of liberationism, but again, it's more about having the teacher being a guide as opposed to just teaching a student something and filling them up with knowledge. And then a more recent one, connectivism. So this is looking at digital pedagogies, something that is obviously far more important at the moment than it ever really has been, with most people having to learn from home, much like myself. So yes, so apart from going through every other note that I've taken, that is kind of a brief rundown of everything that we've done. So next week is a little odd because it's a reading week, but it isn't a reading week. Because of the course that I'm on, I do have an additional lecture to attend. But most of next week will be given over to constructing the microteach and making sure that that's where it needs to be, because on the following Tuesday after that, that's when we'll be delivering said microteach, and it'll be the first opportunity we've had to do that. I may do another video next week, just an update of how the microteach is going. If so, that will come out on the Friday as usual. Apart from that, yeah, I suppose I should just round things up. So, as usual, if you do enjoy this series, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell icon so that you get notified whenever a new one comes out. For those of you with good memory who keep on top of these things, typically these videos come out every Friday. I try to make it Friday morning, but check the channel on Fridays and they will generally be there. If you could leave a like on the video as well, that would be very much appreciated. Comments are always welcome, particularly if you have anything that you want me to talk about in particular, such as not using the word particular twice in one sentence, and any other comments like that are very much appreciated. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you again next week.